Good morning and welcome back to my channel, Don't Mind Me. I'm Diana. Today I want to read a story called The Shortest Engagement, which is a romantic and inspirational story, and it's by Jeff Namian. There is mention of Alzheimer's, so if you don't want to watch, that's fine. But I do hope you like the story for those that do watch this video. The Shortest Engagement. It was a Thursday afternoon. Janet opened the front door of her parents' house where she still lived after graduating high school. She couldn't believe who she was looking at. Alan. They were childhood sweethearts who met when Alan flunked and had to repeat the third grade. Since they were born a year apart, his academic faux pas ignited their spark. They played together after school. During school, Janet sat to the left of Alan for 9 years to make sure he graduated with her. Once Alan could afford to buy a motorcycle, he had her name put on the back seat in silver studs. She never told him she despised riding the bike, but liked clutching him from behind and taking in the smell of his leather jacket. It was prom time. Well, Alan and his motorcycle buddies were simply too cool for something that corny. Janet pleaded with him to bring her to no avail. Well, Howard Smith asked me, and I'm going to say yes. Howard Smith is a nerd. You're right, and he's going to be my nerd on prom night. So Janet and her mother shopped for a prom dress. Alan would go to pick her up for their Saturday afternoon ride. She'd be out shopping. Her father, a helpless and mean old drunk, would answer the door and say something like, "Man, you really screwed that one up, buddy." Prom night came and Howard picked up Janet. He bought a corsage and fumbled to pin it to her dress, thanks to his trembling hands. They hopped into the back of his dad's Hillman Minx, and off they went. Howard's father glanced at the nervous couple in his rearview mirror and thought his son had done well securing a date with such a striking young lady. Once at the prom, Harold got Janet some punch. Then they danced. Janet was beaming since Alan was far too cool to dance in public. Once they sat at their table, the sound of a very loud motorcycle could be heard revving its engine just outside the gymnasium doors. Through them walked Alan. He grabbed Janet by the arm and said, "You're coming with me." 2 weeks later, he was drafted into the Korean War. Janet stayed with her parents even though the pattern of the day was to plan a wedding after graduation. She got a secretarial job that she rushed home every night to read Alan's letters. Never missed a day. One Thursday afternoon, Janet answered the door and couldn't believe it was Alan in his uniform. She hadn't seen him in 2 years. No time for the mushy stuff. "We're getting married tonight. I have to go back Saturday. Hurry up." The wedding was organised in 3 hours. The church was under construction, so they were married across the street in a VFW hall. No time to buy a dress. Janet fit into her sister Arlene's wedding dress with alterations. Seems Arlene had a bun in the oven on her special day. She was Janet's matron of honour, and Alan's brother Doug was his best man. By 8:30 p.m. on July the 3rd, 1953, they were officially husband and wife. They drove up to New Hampshire and checked into a motel for one night, which Janet recalled like this: "I didn't have a clue what the heck was happening." That Saturday, Alan flew back to Munich, where he was stationed. Janet returned to her parents' house and continued to work. 2 years passed before Alan returned to the States. He started college on the GI Bill. Janet got pregnant. She told me she went to the doctor convinced she was throwing up from something she caught at the beach. Yet again, she didn't have a clue what the heck was going on. Years later, I found a copy of Portnoy's complaint in her bottom dresser drawer, so she slowly absorbed the curriculum. They had another child, me. Much like Janet tutored Alan in the 3rd grade, they supported each other through all the hurdles of marriage. One of them was a big one. Alan developed Alzheimer's. He became more and more dependent on Janet for just about everything. I'd take a train out of the city and spend a weekend day with them. They'd watch old movies. Janet would explain all of the details Alan couldn't follow. 60 years later, they were still holding hands. Janet to the left of Alan, just like she did in the 3rd grade, always determined to keep him wired into the plot and moving forward. Eventually, it became time for Alan to enter a mental health facility. Janet insisted on selling their house so she could move into an assisted living room in the same facility. She had to be with him. It wasn't all drudgery. I'm pretty sure she enjoyed having breakfast, lunch and dinner in the fancy room with the stone fireplace, having her laundry washed and dried, then folded and put away for her. She'd wheel over to see Alan every day. At least that's what she told me. She was getting a little hooked on playing bridge with her new girlfriends. So who knew? Alan waited for her in his wheelchair all day long, near the nursing station. Once she arrived, she'd wheel to the left, hold his hand, and they'd sit together, not saying a thing for hours on end. What was left to say? That they didn't already know. They met. They entered a partnership. They waited for each other. They built their life together, all stemming from a 2-hour engagement. And then he left her. No, he didn't die. He was still there, but his charm and character had left. Janet missed that so much. The motorcycle rides that she hated. The high school prom where Alan rescued her just like Deborah Winger in An Officer and a Gentleman. The honeymoon night that was a complete blur. The waiting. The letters from Germany raising kids together on their terms. As a product of their efforts, their techniques were far from the norm. Their partnership, which navigated a life holding hands the entire time. They took turns leading. They took turns making decisions, yet they never wasted one moment questioning each other. We will get there together. We won't worry about how long it takes. I hope you like that story. Yes, it was short, but it rings true, and marriages can last for a very long time, no matter what issues there are. And this story is one that resonates very much with me, as my mother-in-law and late father-in-law were on the verge of celebrating their 60th, but sadly he passed away a few months beforehand. And yes, this couple resonates so much with me. They held hands, they were so close, they laughed, joked. Yeah, there are some issues before he passed, but that's life. And unfortunately, we all go through it with loved ones, regardless of who they are, whether they're family members, who we've married. We will always have issues, but that makes us stronger and it builds the people we are. So with that, I'd like to say, if you like these videos and you'd like to see more, then please like, subscribe is free, and you can unsubscribe at any time, but it does help you to know when I next post. There is a notification button, so if you want to press that, you will then be informed of when I next post. I do try and post every Thursday. I didn't post last week because I was having issues with the Wi-Fi, and for some unknown reason, every time I tried to do a video or read a story for the video, something kept cropping up, the Wi-Fi would crash, I would get notifications come up that wouldn't go. So needless to say, I ended up not doing a video last week. So I apologise for that. And as I say, I do hope you like this story. Please share it. And this channel is for mental health awareness, well-being and positivity. So that is why there are vlogs on here for mental health. There's stories, crafting, anything and everything to help with those struggling. And I certainly do empathise with those who suffer with mental health. That is why this channel started. And I do send my love to each and every one of you. And it is tough going through what you have to go through, but you are strong and I believe in you. Please believe in yourselves. You can do this. And with the support and love of loved ones, you can definitely get through it. Until next week, bye for now, and I love you all.